For me, this whole data storytelling journey started in 2014 because the management team asked me to do a presentation to present insights that it would generate from my analysis. And of course, I was excited because it was an opportunity to present my insights, to analyze the data and to come up with recommendations that would help the management team. So what I did all the analysis. I brought all the facts and figures to the meeting. And I was quite optimistic that the management team would adopt my recommendations. But in that meeting, in that presentation, it didn't go as planned. Because despite my optimism, it failed. There was one thing I forgot about. There was one obstacle I overlooked. And there was one person I neglected. And that person was Giovanni. And Giovanni was part of the management team, an Italian man. He was short, had no hair, and had this really big belly. And not only his appearance was different compared to mine, but also his personality. Where I was more the analytical thinker, the data person, Giovanni was more driven by emotions. And in that meeting, he bounced off all my ideas. It was just sitting there like a wall. Not receptive to my ideas, not receptive to my insights, and not listening to my recommendations. It totally got me off guard because I didn't really know what to do. I didn't expect that in the meeting. At the end of the meeting, nothing got implemented. And to be honest, I was pretty frustrated because I did all the hard analytical work. I brought all my insights and data to the meeting, but it was not sufficient. Rather, it was a bit too much, because after the presentation I spoke to my manager and I talked with him and I asked him, hey, do you know what happened in that meeting? We had a good conversation and I learned a lot. And from that conversation it was clear that Giovanni was not the one failing me, but in fact I failed myself. I was way too focused on the analytical side, on the data, on the technical side, not thinking enough about what is important to my audience and what is important for Giovanni. What are his goals and how can I connect my data to his goals? So clearly I was very focused on the analytical side. But it was not the only time in my life. Because about 12, 13 years ago, I played poker on a professional level. And what I loved about it is that I played online. So I had the opportunity to play 6 to 8 tables at the same time. And having all the data about the other players. So every time I need to make a decision, I just clicked on one of the player icons and then 100 data points appeared on the screen. And that data told me what type of player I had in front of me. Was it a more aggressive player, a more passive player? And based on the data, you can calculate your next best action. But of course, it doesn't work like that when you're outside of the poker table. So I did try it in conversations with students, with friends, with family members. I tried to think a lot. What would be the best next action? What would be the best next thing to say? And if it would be funny enough and smart enough what I was about to say. So clearly I was thinking too much. I was living in my head instead of building a connection between the other person and myself. So I was too focused on the analytical side. And you can also see it this way. I was very focused on the spades and clubs, the analytical side, thinking. And not enough on the hearts and diamonds, the communication, the storytelling. And as a result, I had only half of the information. One pair instead of 4 of a kind. And that's something I wanted to change. So I started reading a lot of books, diving in deeply into personal development. And of course that helped me a lot to communicate better. But what I also saw in my data career is that many data professionals have a similar challenge. They're very smart people, they have good ideas, and they're strong at analyzing data. But too often people are not using their work, and to me that's a big shame. And that's what led me to founding Mindspeaking, to help other people in data communicate with confidence, communicate with impact. So that's what I stand for, and that's why I'm so passionate about this topic and this course in specific. In this course I will teach you how to communicate your insights with impact, because I believe that your ideas need to be heard. I believe your ideas deserve impact. 3 years ago, I met Giovanni again. And this time he wasn't a colleague, but he was a client instead. And he's still the same man. Small, no hair, big belly. But something changed. Something changed in our interaction. I paid a bit more attention to communication, understanding what matters to him, and using storytelling to grab his attention and to make the ideas stick in his mind. So my point with this story is there are a lot of Giovannis in the world, driven by emotions. There can be a Giovanni in me, and maybe there can also be a Giovanni in you. So that's why I would like to encourage you in your next interactions with stakeholders, your spouse, your family members, to not only focus on the spades and clubs, but also on the hearts and diamonds. Because, trust me, to win, you really need a four of a kind.